funny. Just want to know if we're getting these recordings of the class.
Yeah, they're doing that.
It's doing recording, right? Cool. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much. Yep.
Okay. Asset management. The second one, deployments. Third one, security. And there are some tools. Or I can say miscellaneous tools. So in the asset management, we have the first one, inventories. So SM will be able to help you gather the inventory information. What is your hardware size? What is the memory size? What is the disk size? It will help you gather the inventory information. The first thing. Okay,
Right.
it does both the hardware and software.
Correct. Okay.
Second thing, it will help you with the asset intelligence or your license management.
Right.
What is the total softwares of X product purchased and how many are installed, and it will give you a variation of whether it is short or excess of the licenses using the asset intelligence reports.
Right.
Okay, next thing, software metering. The software metering is a mechanism where it will measure whether the installed software is utilized properly by the user or not.
Correct.
So this will help you understand whether the licenses installed are properly utilized. If they're not utilizing, I can take a decision to reallocate the license by uninstalling the software. Okay, that gives me a cost saving tool to understand the license utilization. The next one, remote tools. So connecting to the remote systems. So when I want to help some end users, whether I'm working in help desk, I want to connect to the end user systems. The remote tools will help you to connect to the end user machines and troubleshoot and share the screen with them as required. Okay, that's the first part, asset management. Then deployments, software deployment. So we can deploy the softwares on the user machines at the scheduled time using SCCM. So if I want to install on 100 machines, 1,000 machines, or 10,000 machines at a time, I can use the software deployment methodology in SCCM. And there are two different methodologies internally in software deployment. One is called as packaging programs, and second model is called as application model. So both do software installation, but application has more features compared to package and programs. And also one is user centric, and another one is the computer centric or machine centric and versus user centric. Next one, patch management, software update management.
Okay.
So this is about the patch management which you spoke. I can deploy the Microsoft patches using SCCM. Okay, this is majorly focused on the Microsoft products, whether it's a Visio or Excel or Word. Depends. It focuses majorly on the Microsoft products.
Right.
Then operating system deployment. Okay, OSD. So this will help you with the deployment of OS. It can be Windows 8 or Windows 10 using SCCM. So that I don't need to do any manual installation of the systems, anything manually. I can do it automatically using OS deployment.
Okay.
Then the third part, security. The first one, endpoint protection. So endpoint protection is the Microsoft antivirus software, like McAfee. Microsoft also has their own software called as endpoint protection.
Okay.
Now, Windows Defender is more of a free product, whereas endpoint protection is a paid product.
Okay. Right.
So this can be integrated and managed completely from SCCM, so that I don't need to manage a separate server.
Correct.
The next one, role-based access control. So I can delegate the permissions on SCCM in a controlled way.
Okay.
So if I'm having 10 persons working on SCCM and one person is working on each area, I can delegate permissions as required using role-based access control.
Okay.
Then I have something called as compliance management. So this will help me with enforcing the security standards. So let's assume I want to measure a registry, how the registry is there. If there is any deviation in the registry keys, I want to fix it out. Okay, I can set that using compliance management.
Okay.
Then I have the power management. So we can manage power settings applied on the system using SCCM.
Okay.
The next thing, weak on LAN. So weak on LAN is a feature where we can power on the remote systems using network card power. So this SM will give a way to achieve this functionality during your software deployment or during your patch management, so that it can power on and install the patches during the off times.
Okay.
Then you have the reports. There are around 470 plus reports which will help you with the different types of data, whether it can be patch management data or your metering data or your software deployment data. I can get everything using my reports.
Okay.
And I have the mobile device management.
Right.
So this is more or less like a part feature, not workable feature in the production. Yeah, in the SCCM. Okay, these are the four major areas where people are using SCCM.
Okay.
So majority of the usage is in the 1, 2, 3.
Correct.
Okay. So when you want to start or when you want to build a SCCM, the first thing or the foremost thing to start installation is called as a primary site. So primary site is a logical component. So it's not a physical entity, it's a logical component. It means it's a group of servers.
Yes.
So it's a logical component comprising of multiple servers, and the bunch of servers we call it as a primary site. So to represent this combination of servers, we have something called as site code, site name, and a database requirement. So site code, the group of servers we represent with a 3-character site code. It can be alphanumeric site code, and a site name which is of 255 character length. And a primary site requires a database server. It only supports SQL Server. Okay, Microsoft SQL Server, and it requires at least standard edition.
Right.
To store the data received from the client machines. And each primary site will support up to 100,000 clients.
Each site.
Yeah, each primary site can support up to 100,000 clients. Means if you are having less than 100,000 clients, I can go with a single primary site.
Okay.
So when you want to represent in a diagrammatic view, so this is one logical entity which can consist of multiple servers. The number of servers depends on the number of clients you have in the environment. It can be one server, or it can be 10 servers, or it can be 20 servers. This completely depends on the number of clients you have.
Okay.
So a site code and a site name, and it will manage the clients directly.
Okay.
So the clients will report to management, the site rather than to the servers. Okay.
Sorry.
So you can report. The clients can report any of the server.
Okay.
Okay. So this supports up to 100,000 clients. If you're having more than 100,000 clients, okay, then you require another primary site. Okay.
Okay.
So the problem with this another primary site is for managing this one, I need to come here. For managing these things, I need to come here. For report of this 100,000, I need to do here. Another 100,000, I need to do here.
Correct.
Okay, to avoid that, they have come up with the concept called as central administration site, CAS.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is an optional component, okay,
Okay.
and is required when you have more than one primary site,
Okay.
so that it can connect to both the primary sites and speak to both of them and manage them centrally from here.
Mm-hmm.
The major difference between this CAS and primary is CAS will not speak directly to the clients. Only
Mm-hmm.
primary will speak to clients, and CAS will only speak to the primaries.
Okay.
Okay, so this is required only when you have more than one primary site, and it is completely optional component.
Right.
So as it name says, it is used for only administration and reporting.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the two major functionalities of this CAS.
Right.
And here also there is a code, site code, and
Mm-hmm.
a site name, and in total it will support up to 400,000 clients.
Okay.
Means or 25 primary sites in combination.
25. Okay.
Either 25 primary sites or in total 400,000 clients.
But each primary site can support up to 100,000, right? So it should be 2,500, so 2.5 million, right?
So I may not be having 100,000 clients in every primary site.
Okay. Even if they are there,
It can support only up to 4,000. The limit is 400,000
400.
clients.
Okay. All right.
So either 400,000 spread across 25 or 400,000 spread across 4.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
a CAS.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's assume this is my location A.
Okay.
This is my location A,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a location B. Okay,
Right.
and I have some client missions here. Let's assume I'm having a uh, 500 clients.
Mm-hmm.
So because this is a location and location B, this is connected by a WAN link.
Right.
So when these clients require some software, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's assume it requires some MS Office to download and install. So all these clients has to go to
Mm-hmm.
location A and download the content. So if there are having
Right.
500 clients, 500 into let's say 1 GB is MS Office, 500 into 1 GB download. So total 500 GB download.
Correct.
So can you assume 500 GB on a WAN link?
Yes.
It's a difficult one.
A lot of,
So
yes.
keeping that into consideration,
Mm-hmm.
there is something called as secondary sites.
Mm-hmm.
We'll select or we'll install one server,
Mm-hmm.
which is an extension to primary. Okay,
Okay.
means the secondary will not work individually unless until there is a primary.
Right.
Okay, which is an extension to secondary, and the clients will point to this server for any content
Mm-hmm.
download as well as reporting.
Right. Okay.
So that even there is a WAN link down, it will work internally, and once it is available, it will sync with the main site.
Okay.
So both the reporting of the clients and download of the content happen locally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the use of the secondary site.
Okay.
So primary, CAS, and secondary. Secondary also
Mm-hmm.
represented by a site code and a site name.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So these are all logical components. Now let's come to the physical components.
Okay.
So physical server. When I want to install a SM server, what we start with is called as a site server.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first server or where we install the core SCCM related components.
Mm-hmm.
We call it as a site server.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, second one, site database server. As the name says, the place where we install our SM database, we call it as a site database server. Okay, for a small setup, these two can exist on the same box, same virtual box. But if
Okay.
you're having a more number of clients, it is always recommended to separate them to two different boxes or two different virtual machines. So all
Right.
the SCCM components supports virtualization and also supports cloud.
Right.
Okay, there is no requirement to have any physical servers.
I'm just a bit confused now. I mean, just need some clarity there. What do you mean by physical servers and virtual machines then? So you
Uh,
said the first three, primary side, cache, and secondary. They're all
mm,
logical components,
mm.
which means they are virtual.
And we're trying to discuss. These are all non-existence. They don't exist actually. They're a combination of different components. When you say
Okay.
how we relate a colony. So when you take a colony,
Yeah.
a colony will not exist. Colony is a group of houses.
Correct.
So this primary set is a colony, which is a group of servers.
Okay.
So if servers are not there, colony will not be there. Okay, the primary set will not be there unless until the site server and site database server is not there.
Okay.
Yeah, now go ahead with your question.
Okay. This site server is okay. You're saying that
It's
site server
site server is a building
group of
in the colony.
okay. So group of a bunch of site servers
Will
which are
become a primary
physically
set.
installed will become a primary site, right? Okay.
Yeah, and they're logically binded with a name called as site code and site name.
Right. Okay. So they
Okay.
need not be physical. I just got confused with the word physical.
Yeah,
So they can be in a
yeah,
virtual machine.
yeah. They're
They can be in a
physical
virtual machine.
they're components means they're existing components. I can touch them.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Touch them in the sense their existence. So whereas primary set is non-existence one.
Okay, just logic. Yeah. Okay, right. I got it.
Okay.
Yep.
So when I have a small environment, I can install both site server and site database server on the same box, same virtual
Correct.
server.
Yes.
When you are having more number of clients, I need to differentiate what is the number of more. So if you install site server and site database server on the same box, you can only
Mm-hmm.
have 50,000 clients in one primary site.
Okay.
So I want to have more than 50,000. It should be always on a separate box. Okay. So
Yep.
this server, let's say this is a site server,
Mm-hmm.
and this will be my site database server, DB server.
Okay. Right.
Then the next component, management point.
Mm-hmm.
So management point is another physical component. So the site server is there, site database server is there, but these will not communicate with the clients directly.
Mm-hmm.
All the communication between site server and the clients will happen using management point.
Okay.
So whatever we do in the site server, that information will be sent to management point, and the management point is the one which will communicate with the clients.
Okay.
And each management point will support up to 25,000 clients.
Okay.
Means if you want to manage 100,000 clients in one site, you require at least 4 MPs.
Correct.
In short, we call them as MPs, management point.
MPs. Correct.
So you require 4 servers with MP role when you want to install or when you want to
Mm-hmm.
manage 100,000 clients.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the reason I said that number of clients, number of servers in your site will be dependent on your number of clients.
Right.
Okay, management point,
Yeah.
the first role. So we call them as roles.
Mm-hmm.
So management point is one of the role, which
Okay.
will communicate or facilitate communication between primary, site, and clients.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second role is the distribution point,
Okay.
DP. So this is required to provide the content to the clients.
Mm-hmm.
So MP will say that you install the software, but for the
Mm-hmm.
content of that software will be stored on the DP in a
Right.
encrypted format.
Mm-hmm.
So each DP will support up to 4,000 clients.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are having 100,000 clients, you require at least 25 DPs.
Yeah. Okay.
So 25 into 4,000, 100,000 clients.
100,000. Right.
So my clients can be in different locations actually. So 100,000 will
Mm-hmm.
not be in one location, correct?
Correct. Correct.
So let's assume your 100,000 clients are spread across 50 locations.
Mm-hmm.
So I can have a secondary site in 50 locations.
Right.
Okay. Alternatively, I can have a DP in 50 locations. So what is the advantage or what is the difference? If you have a secondary site, both reporting and download will happen locally. Whereas when you have only DP in the remote location, only download will happen locally, but reporting will happen to the main location. So when you want to put that in a technical way, when you have a secondary site, both upload and download bandwidth are controlled. Okay, with the secondary site, both upload data and download are controlled.
Correct.
Whereas when you have only DP in the location, only download is controlled, because they will upload directly to the main site. Okay, so distribution point can exist individually. Okay, in a location. So if I have another location, I can just install distribution point and I can route my clients to the DP. Okay, which is an extension to the primary site. Okay, so secondary site will have, secondary site is a combination of MP plus DP. Okay, MP plus DP. Whereas this is only DP. Okay, so I can keep a distribution point or I can keep MP plus DP both in combination. We call it a secondary site.
Okay.
Okay, why this is
Secondary site is usually, I mean, maybe is it a branch or kind of thing, or
branch office type of things. Branch office type of things.
Which is external to the existing one, right?
Yeah, another server in the secondary site, secondary location. Okay, whereas DP also same thing, but the DP advantage is it can also use one of the client machine as a DP. You don't require a server OS.
Okay.
So let's assume I have a small office, only 20 people are there.
Right.
I cannot afford a server there.
Right.
So what I will do is I will select one of the client as a DP there, and I will just hook to my primary site.
Right. Okay.
So that other 19 clients will go to that one server, one client machine, and download the content.
Correct.
So that's the advantage of the DP, only having DP there.
Right.
But it can be exist on a client machine as well as server machine. Okay, if you're having a server machine, the DP will support up to 4,000 clients. If the DP is on a client machine, it will support up to 10 parallel downloads.
Sorry, okay, can you come again, sir?
If it is on a server OS, the limit is 4,000. If it is on a client OS, the limit is 10 clients.
Okay.
So it's not that only 10 clients. Only 10 people or 10 clients can download parallelly. Means if you're having 40 clients, first 10 will download, next 10 will download, next 10 will download. Okay. So you can use secondary site and DP interchangeably based on your requirements and based on your management capabilities. Okay, when you want to control only download bandwidth, you can go with the DP. When you want to control both upload and download bandwidth, you go with a secondary site.
Okay.
Which is a combination of MP plus DP.
Right.
Okay. Next tool, software update point, SUP. So this is required when you want to do patch management. Okay, only this up to this part are mandatory, and all the roles are other roles are optional. If you want that functionality, add the role. If you don't want the functionality, you can skip the role. Means in my company, I don't do patch management using SCCM. I can skip this role. Okay. And one SUP can support up to 100,000 clients. So one SUP will be fine for one primary site.
Right.
The next tool, asset intelligence synchronization point.
So is the software update point also one of the roles, or?
Yeah, everything is a role, but MP and DP are mandatory, remaining are all optional.
Okay.
So in my company, I don't do patch management using SCCM. I can just skip the role, SUP role.
Okay. If you skip it, then you can make one of the clients as the SUP, right?
No, I don't require. I'm not doing patch management using SCCM in my company. Let's say I'm using WSS.
Okay.
Or I'm using some third-party software. Okay, I'm just using SCCM for software deployment.
Okay.
So there are chances, right?
Okay.
I just use this as a deployment tool. I don't use as a patch management tool.
Okay.
So in those cases, I can skip this role.
Correct.
Okay, so if you're having more clients, it should be installed in a separate box, separate virtual machine. Okay.
Yep.
Asset intelligence synchronization point. This is useful for your license management. If you want to do license management using SCCM, this role is required.
Okay.
If you don't do license management using SCCM, this role is not required. Okay, next role. Endpoint protection point. So this is required to manage your antivirus.
Yeah, right.
Okay, if you don't own that license, this role is not required.
Okay.
Next role, application catalog website point. So this is a centralized portal where users can come and select the software and install the software on their own. It's a self-service portal.
Okay.
So generally we raise a request to the team and they deploy the software to the systems, right? Instead of that one, they can go to the catalog and they select the catalog and they can install the software on their own. It's more of a self-service portal where you can just click it and SCCM will install the software in the backend automatically.
Okay. Okay.
The next role, application catalog web service point. So this will fetch the information from SCCM and give it to port website. Okay, the list of softwares which are available in SCCM, it will give to the website. So these two roles work in conjunction.
Right.
If website is not there, website is not required. Website is not there, website is not required.
Right. Okay.
So next role, what are the rails? Yeah, enrollment point. So this is required for mobile device management. Okay, but as I said, it is not used in the production properly. So this is more or less like a redundant role. Enrollment proxy point. So this is required to install client software on mobile devices. So these are non-useful at this moment of time.
Okay.
Okay, next role. Fallback status point, FSP. So in SCCM, I'm deploying software on 100 machines. Okay, I cannot log into each and every machine and check the status, correct? Whether it's installed or not.
Right.
And also SCCM is a server and client based software. Okay, means for every endpoint I need to install some piece of software. And even that piece of software I cannot install manually on every machine. So when I'm trying to push it automatically to all the machines, I need to also track it whether it is installed successfully. If it is failed, why it is failed.
Correct.
So this fallback status point will help you to gather that information, the status messages.
Okay.
Back to server.
Right.
And also when clients are, this is having another functionality when clients are not able to reach management point. They will communicate with FSP. Okay, they state that I'm not able to reach MP. Please check what is the issue with MP.
Okay.
So ideally this should be on a separate server other than MP server. Okay, for the lab purpose, in the lab we try to install all the roles on one server, but in production these will be spread across multiple servers.
Right.
Okay, so these are the different roles available in SCCM, and except MP and DP, all the roles are optional and are on demand or when required. Okay.
Yep.
And there is something called as communication mode in SCCM. There are two different types of communication mode. One is called as HTTP and the other one is called as HTTPS. Right. When you have the first mode of communication, means all the roles will communicate in the HTTP mode to the clients. So you can manage only the clients in internet.
Okay.
And when you have HTTPS, you can manage the clients over internet as well as internet.
Okay.
Means if you want some software, you can just plug in internet and the software will be delivered to the machine.
Right. Okay.
So starting with the 2012, you can use in combinations. Means you can keep 1 MP in a HTTP, 1 MP in HTTPS. So that you both manage both internally as well as externally.
Right.
So it's up to you which mode you want to select.
Okay.
Okay, previously they used to call as Internet Based Client Management, IBCM. So that has been
Okay.
renamed with the modes in the 2012.
Right.
Okay, so let me draw a small table to just summarize this one.
Okay. Sure.
So this is my role and description, then mode of communication preferred, and the capacity, and where I can install, whether I can install on the primary, secondary, and CAS. Okay, the first role is the management point. We call it as MP, and this is required to facilitate communication between clients. So this can be the HTTP or HTTPS, and capacity is 25,000. So you require four MPs at least to manage your 100,000 clients. And this is the one which will facilitate communication between client and server. Okay,
Right.
so CAS will not speak to clients.
Yes.
So hence it cannot be installed on the CAS.
Correct.
Okay, this can be installed only on the primary and secondary.
Yes.
Okay, next role, distribution point, DP. So to provide content, and this is also both is feasible, and one DP will support up to 4,000 or 10
2025.
and 25, and this is also same thing, primary and secondary, but not on CAS.
Correct.
Next role, fallback status point, FSP, to track status messages. Either HTTP or HTTPS, and 100,000 will support. So one will be sufficient. And it can be on the primary and secondary, again not on CAS.
Right.
Next one, endpoint protection point. So this is to manage antivirus. HTTP or HTTPS, and one will be sufficient to 100,000. And it can be on the primary and on the CAS. Why?
Okay.
So I want my antivirus definitions to be same in both my primaries. Hence I will install on the CAS, and I administered both the primary sites from the CAS. Hence this role can be installed on the CAS.
Okay.
Next one, reporting services point, to generate your reports. As we said, there are a lot of reports. It will come only when you install this reporting service point, either HTTP or HTTPS, and there is no limit here because I don't expect all the people to open reports at a single point of time.
Correct.
And this is again on the primary and on the CAS, because I want central report for all the clients.
Correct.
Next role, application catalog, website point. So this is a catalog of self-service portal. It is HTTP and HTTPS. It is recommended in HTTPS. Okay, because it will pass the user authentication.
Okay.
And there is no limit because it's again a user-based one.
Right.
And this is on the primary and on the CAS again.
Okay.
The next one, application catalog website point, web service point. Yes, and no limit. And in the primary and CAS.
Well, it could be on the secondary as well, right? But it's not no use, or it's optional.
Secondary only required for download. So download will happen locally, but I don't require a catalog to be published additionally there. The catalog is common for entire company.
Right. Right.
Only download I want to control. I don't want to control anything else.
Okay.
So that's the reason only DP and MP are there in the secondary. The main things are all there only on the primary or CAS.
Even endpoint protection as well. It could be on the secondary as well, right?
No, because endpoint protection definitions again will be on DP. This is only a control.
Okay.
So all the definitions will be on DP. So if any content is there, that will go to DP. And policies for this one will be managed by MP locally. So this is more of a one-time job, one-time communication.
Okay.
Okay, next one. Software update point. Patch management. And 100,000 is the limit. And it can be on the primary, secondary, on the CAS. It can be on all the three. Okay, because it has to scan the patches. So, but generally most of the people doesn't install on this one. So this is optional.
Okay.
Most of the people will only do on the primary and CAS because it will go to the just scanning will be at that 20 KB file. So 20 KB file will not take much bandwidth.
Correct.
Hence, on the secondary it is optional. But if your secondary is also a huge site, let's assume I'm having 1,000 clients in one location and I'm managing it using secondary. I can just go with a SUP on that location, but it's completely optional. Next role, enrollment point. Before that, there's one more point, state migration point. So this is required to support user data migration during OSD. So I want to migrate user content from one laptop to other laptop or one desktop to other desktop. I can use the state migration point. So hence this can be on the primary and on the secondary.
Okay.
Because I cannot copy a Melbourne user data to the India location.
Right.
And there's no limit here because I don't copy all users at a time. Okay, next one, enrollment point and mobile device management. It can be only HTTPS because mobile devices are not domain joined, so I cannot do anything via HTTP. So I need to have some form of authentication mechanism. So hence this role will be only HTTPS, where it will be a certificate based authentication, and it will be only on the primary.
Right.
And next one, enrollment proxy point, same thing, to support MDM client installation, and again only HTTPS and only on the primary. Okay, so these are the roles which are available in SCCM. And previously in 2012, in 2016 that is removed now, system health validator point. This is removed now. Okay, this is required previously to manage there is something called as what you call that, if a system is not properly patched, I want to keep it outside my network. Okay, I don't want it to add to network or communicate with my network, so I can use this system health validator point to enforce those policies and remediate it automatically using SCCM. So this is removed now.
Okay.
So this is called as network access protection. Okay, this is there previously but removed in the latest version of 2016.
Okay.
And on the primary side. And another role is called as out of band service point. So this is also removed now. No, sorry, not removed, it transformed actually. Okay, this is out of band service point. It is useful when you want to take remote of the system starting from BIOS.
Sorry?
Okay, taking the remote of the system starting from BIOS.
Okay.
So, but it requires a chip called AMD chip, Active Management Technology chip. So that is a costly one, and hence it really died in the market.
Okay.
Okay, it's no longer used feature. So last 4 we don't use it regularly, or most of the time we don't use last 4 features in the production.
Right. Okay.
Okay, the top ones are the one which we generally use in the production up to this point, state migration point. So that's a brief rules and what is the communication method and what is the capacity and what is the number of servers required. So if you take all these things, I require one server each. So if you visualize your SM hierarchy, at least you'll be having 35 servers if you're managing 100,000 clients at a minimum. But if your number of locations increases, the number of SM servers will increase.
Correct.
Okay. That's a brief on. Sorry.
Looks complicated, is it?
Yeah, that's the reason I started with this one, and I just made this table one by one.
Perfect, perfect. And
Okay,
we're going to
that's a
discuss
prime.
each one of them, right?
Sorry.
We're going to discuss each one of them with the functions and the roles,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Once we complete these roles, the course is over.
Okay, great.
So that's what we try to do over a period of next 15 hours. The roles and what is the use of the roles.
Nice.
Okay. So any questions in this one?
Nothing yet. Nothing that I can think of right now.
Okay.
Maybe I'll have to
So
go
to
through the thing
summarize,
once again and see.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. To summarize, what we discussed is we discussed what is a CAS, primary and secondary. Then what are the different roles available in SCM, and what are the physical components, primary site server and the site database.
Right.
Okay, that's in brief five different words: primary, secondary, CAS, MPDP, and the roles.
Correct.
Okay, that's what we discussed in this last 55 minutes.
Right.
So tomorrow we'll meet at 3 o'clock. By the time I'll get the servers up and running, and we'll try to set up the lab.
Sure.
Any other questions before I wrap it up?
Okay. So you're going to show me how you're going to set up the labs, or you want to
Yeah,
set
I
up
will
the
set up the
lab
lab.
plan?
I will set up the basic servers OS.
Okay.
I
So
will
I
try to
can
set up
access.
the lab.
Okay. You want to set up the lab, and can I access it, or
No,
I
it
need to
is
set
only
up the lab?
limited to myself.
Okay. So if I want to set up my lab on my computer here,
Hmm.
how do I do that?
You need to build a couple of two machines. One is your domain
Mm-hmm.
controller and one is your SM server, and join them in the domain.
Okay.
So I'll share you the links to download the software. It will be around 10 GB.
Yeah.
And once the downloaded, you can start installing on the two servers.
Okay. I think I have 2012 server file, ISR file. Let me see if I can. Do you want to install the 2012 server?
Yeah, install two servers.
Install two servers. Which any two servers or
Sorry,
domain controller and?
one SM server. So first will be your domain controller, and second will be your SM server where we do all the installations.
Okay. And how about if you want to install some other? Okay, we can add the other servers, right? If required,
Sorry,
just for
come back
lab.
again.
We can install the other servers as well, right? If required.
Yes, but two will be sufficient for the lab, except the OS deployment lab.
Okay. All right.
So for OS deployment, you require one more server, but that's fine.
Okay, sure. And we need some clients as well, right? Say one or two clients to
So
deploy and test.
for SM, AD will be the client.
Okay, reach out to the client. All right. Okay. And how about in a client and end client? Okay, AD itself is a client, right? Okay.
AD itself is a client. For
Oh,
SM, AD is a client.
okay. All right. I'll try to fire up a server tomorrow.
Sure.
I'll let you know.
Sure.
All right, funny. Thank you.
Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, bye.
Bye.